our young winners are here and they're in school. So I got to get them back to class. Shevry reminds me, they got to go, they got to go. And so we certainly want to get them on who are the winners of the Marion Barry Youth Leadership Institute essay contest that was produced by the Marion Barry Youth Leadership Alumni Association. And so you all had to write about the theme is voting the vehicle for effective change. And so I want to congratulate each one of you. And I'm going to start. Let's see, who do I want to start with? I think I'll start with my brothers here, Kai and Cole. How are you all?
Good. Great.
Great, great, great. Tell me quickly, one, why did you decide to participate in the essay contest and, what you wrote about?
We decided to participate in the voting contest to show people why we should vote and why it's important.
Cole?
Also because just so we can get the experience about it and teach people for generations to come about voting and how it can move us forward, but how it can also move us backwards.
You all did some sensational essays, and I know people were listening and putting comments in the chat about how you overwhelmed them with your really thoughtful messages. Amari, let's go to you really quick. Where do you go to school?
At Jefferson Middle School Academy.
Okay, all right. If you back up a little bit, we can see your face because we're just seeing right now your nose and your lips. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
So why did you participate?
I participated because my mom also wanted me to do this so I'd know about history more and why voting is important to us all.
So what did you learn while you were putting this together?
I learned that voting is important because it helps us make a change through our lives.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And how did you work on this? Did you have to do research? I mean, are you a writer? Do you like to write anyway?
I would mostly draw. I prefer drawing more than writing. But
Okay.
yeah, I did have to do research on it to make sure that that I was actually correct about it and see if it was right or wrong.
Wonderful. Okay, and it's good that your mom helped you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I know she did. Amari, have you finished? Amari, have you finished? Is that how it went?
Yeah, pretty much.
I can imagine. Charlie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. Now, what school do you go to?
I go to schools at Walls High School.
All right. And what grade?
I'm in 9th grade.
Fantastic. And I'm going to ask you the same question. Why did you decide to participate in the essay contest?
Yeah, I decided to participate because when I realized that it was about voting, I realized that I didn't know that much about why we should vote. I always just thought, it's my civic duty. I'm going to vote when I'm older anyway. But I never really went into why I should vote, which is what I really went in depth about in my essay. So
there you go.
Okay, and you did. What did you give us a sense of what your conclusion of your essay? What did you come? What was your final message?
So my conclusion was that everybody should be introduced to the idea of voting at a young age because we learn most of our life skills at home from our parents. So I concluded that it was important to know, number one, how your tax dollars were being spent. And I emphasized the fact that when you vote, you have a bigger impact on your life than you think you're making. And also, it's important to start at home young, learning about voting.
Interesting. That's fantastic. Kimry, I'm coming to you next. Kimry Hughes the third. If anybody has been in DC for any amount of time, we know that name. And we're certainly glad to have you with us. And you tell us what school you go to in your grade.
I go to Maurice J. McDonough High School, and I am a 9th grader.
So, I mean, we were pleasantly surprised to see you, but more importantly, to hear you deliver your essay. And, you've been around this work a long time because of your dad and your mom. So tell us why you decided to participate this year.
Well, I decided to participate because I am in the Marion Youth Leadership Institute, and that was the essay contest was a thing that they have been doing for a long time, and I've been around it all the time. And I never participated in previous years when I could have, but now I decided to, like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do the essay. I'm gonna just do it. Also, it was mandatory, so I was like, all right, well, if I'm gonna do it, I might as well like submit it for the contest and try to win some money.
All right. Okay. We'll get it. And you all, I think your first place winners, well, you all are all first place winners, but you won, there was a cash prize already designated, but people were so impressed and inspired by your messages that it's like they kept giving you more money, right?
Yes.
So what was your conclusion, Kimberly? What tone did you end up expressing, or message did you end up expressing in your essay?
Well, in my essay, I gave the message about how voting was important and the changes that it can bring. And I also did talk about my hopes and what I wanted to see for people voting, like how I want more voter turnout, how I want there to be less violations of voting rights, because I touched on that in my essay. And yeah.
So does anybody want to share with me, just have you all had a chance to actually participate in any voting rights marches, or any marches that talk about voting, or
Yes.
yeah, Amari, tell me about that.
So I basically went to this march on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, basically this one day. So yeah, we all literally marched for like 2 hours, and we stopped by some different locations.
That's wonderful.
We started chanting, and yeah, a lot of stuff, and also a lot of things happened.
And when you talk to your classmates, Kyle and Cole, I know you all are at a school, all boys school, but when you talk to your classmates about voting, what are your conversations like?
Well, it's usually about vote. When we talk to our classmates about voting, it's usually about voting who's gonna speak in a classroom or something. And it's usually, well, at our school, I'm not gonna lie, it's usually more of an argument until like it's like a debate. But we do talk about voting, like really get into it. Then we do talk about historical figures um that open the path for us to vote, to be able to vote.
What about you, Cole? In your school, do you all have like a student council, or do you have to vote for your classmates for anything?
Well, not student council really. Like when we do classroom jobs, like we do who should be the leader for the classroom. Like we just do like whoever gets the most votes wins, and then you have to do a speech to see whoever gets the most votes the people have to do a speech. Whoever does the best speech just wins that thing.
Interesting. And Charlie, let me ask you, what was the hardest part for this? Was it writing the essay or actually delivering the essay?
It was probably delivering the essay, because when I was reading it, it was I didn't want to sound robotic. I wanted it to sound genuine. I wanted it to sound like a conversation, kind of. I think I did a pretty good job of doing that, but I think one of the most difficult parts was definitely delivering the essay, because I didn't want it to sound scripted, even though I was reading. I wanted it to sound genuine.
Yeah, that's one of the things we debate about sometimes when we do this contest. And Amari brings up a good point, because sometimes it can be art. Do they always have to write? Do they always have to read? Is there another way to express the idea about what Dr. King's life was about? But anybody else want to talk about, the writing process as opposed to the oratorical part of this, reading it in front of the audience? Anybody else have something they want to share? Kimry?
Well, for me, the writing process, it was, it was a little challenging because I had to go out, I had to really do my research, I had to dig deep. Um, but other than that, it wasn't that hard. I was just like, okay, well, this is what I'm thinking about voting rights. This is how I really feel, and I could easily convey that via paper. And in my presentation of my essay, like Charlie said, I also did not want it to sound like robotic and scripted. And so that's why, I had to really bring this emotion with me. I had to bring like this passion when I was reading my essay that, you know, would emphasize my points better.
So I'm going to ask you all a tough question before I let you go, because I know you got to get back to class. But you did research. All of you talked about the research you did. I'm going to start with you, Amari, and make this question a little long so you can come up with an answer and everybody else can think about it. But of the research that you did, and we know we focused on Dr. King, but is there anybody else you learned about in writing this, in writing your essays that sort of inspired you? Or if not, who does inspire you when it comes to just the issue of voting rights and civil rights?
My parents, some of my friends at school, my teachers, my therapist, and also my friend Mr. Backles that's actually right here.
Oh, okay. All right. And how did he inspire you? I'm just curious.
He inspired me by telling me why voting is important and why do we need to do it for our everyday lives.
All right. Let's give him a hand clap for his support. Kai, Kai and Cole, how about you?
Like one of the people who inspired me was actually Fannie Lou Hammer, because she got beat up, lost her job, and jailed for trying to register people to vote.
All right, Cole. Kai?
One of the people I learned a lot more about was Frederick Douglass. Of all the hardships he went through for a lot of stuff, whether fighting for slavery, voting, and yeah.
Wonderful. Charlie?
Definitely, like Amari said, my parents, my grandparents, all of the adults who vote in my life, because last voting season, I began to listen. I really started listening, and I'd never heard my parents talk like that before. I heard them talk about voting and like who they're voting for, registering, and doing all of that, doing all of the stuff about voting, and I was just so interested. It was great.
Wonderful. And Kimmy, I'm going to give you the last word.
Yeah, the people that I learned a lot from about voting was mainly my father and mother, bringing me around all these political events and everything. Like, I remember back in, I think, 2019, there was this campaign for the ban of flavored e-cigarettes and vapes in Washington D.C. And when we actually went down to the Capitol building and watched them vote on the bill, and like we watched that go through, and I was like, wow, this is an amazing experience. And that's where I learned a lot about voting.
Wow. You guys are fantastic. I mean, I'm so proud of you. And I want to hear more about you. We're going to be following you because I know we're going to hear more over the years. And I know Charlie and Cole are about to come out of school now. So, I know that you all are going to move on and possibly, who knows, end up being in politics yourself. So thank you so much for participating. Thank you so much for joining us today. And keep up the great work, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, stay safe.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye.